seen. He told a worker that he couldn't find his boss and told him to wait for him or find him himself. Everything went down normal from there. The superior came and went, etc. The guard continued working and is still there as far as I'm aware. There was a guard who worked in an orphanage. On any daily basis, working in an orphanage would take a mental toll on its staff members, so you can imagine why no one wanted to fill the spot when HQ gave information of a vacant position there. The guard who got the job there had been jobless for a while and was aware of the potential risk, but was in desperate need for a job. The rules were simple: stay on the orphanage grounds and let the caretakers do their job. At 9 a.m. every morning, the orphans would all gather in a big room. From there, the guards had to put on thermal goggles and inspect every orphan. If any of them didn't emit any heat while the goggles were on, in other words, if the goggles showed the orphan being devoid of the colors, which showed bodily temperature, they were to be shot on sight. The guard said everything was fine for a while, and then one day he saw something wrong with one of the orphans. All the others were shown as yellow, red, green with thermals, whereas this one boy was completely colorless. The guard was caught off guard, no pun intended, and instead of following direct orders to just shoot the kid, he informed his partner. When the partner double-checked, he immediately pointed his gun at the shot the kid directly in the eye. There was a widespread panic as the other kids ran around, and the caretaker tried calming them down. The partner scolded the guard for not shooting right away. The guard told me that he had started to feel sick witnessing a child get shot right in front of him, until the next thing that happened. The kid who was shot started writhing on the ground and producing this high-pitched scream that sounded like a rat being burned alive. The guard described the kid literally melting until all that was left of him was a steaming red, gooey substance on the ground. The guard asked what the fuck that was, and his partner explained. He first showed him some pictures of kids, except they weren't kids. They had completely white eyes, pale skin, covered in purple veins and sharp teeth. Some of them were slightly creepier with elongated necks, emaciated extremities or unnaturally hunched backs. Apparently, these creatures find their way into the orphanage, taking the appearances of normal children and patiently await for a naive family to adopt them. In most cases when that happens, the parents are usually found tragically dead sometime later, and the kid is placed back into the orphanage for a new family. It's unknown how widespread those creatures are, but one thing for sure, this isn't the only orphanage where they were spotted. For Christmas, all the guards in the office were at work, except intervention, get a day off. Doesn't matter what the shift you're doing, but by 5 p.m. on the 24th, you need to be out of the office. One of the guards offered to stay 1 year, stating that he and his wife were in a fight and he didn't mind doing a little overtime. HQ wouldn't even hear about it and threatened to fire him if he was found on the grounds after the aforementioned time. I figured it's just their way of saving up some money, and since intervention is basically always on rotation, it made logical sense to me. It wasn't until an intervention member told me what was really going on that I got the big picture. Here's what he told me. Christmas is supposed to be a really happy time for everyone. You go home, spend time with the family, that sort of thing. But over here, it's one of the worst days of the year. Intervention members are fighting over each other who's going to take paid time off for Christmas Eve. I don't blame them. They know what comes for Christmas, and it terrifies them. He took a long pause, staring into nothingness, as if remembering something before continuing. They put 4 units of intervention in the office for Christmas Eve. Crazy, huh? We usually have just 1 unit, and that's only in case of an emergency. But for Christmas, something's We waited, with our guns trained on the fireplace. Everything was so silent at first. I heard my watch beep to indicate it was midnight. As if on cue, I heard it. Some kind of noise coming from above. I thought it was coming from the ceiling and pointed my gun up, but the commander yelled at me to keep my gun pointed at the fireplace. The scratching from above got louder, as if whatever was there was going down the chimney. And there was something that sounded like a thud right from inside the fireplace, and I heard something that still chills me to my bone when I remember it. You know how Santa has his trademark laughter? Well, we heard that, a very slow except it didn't sound human. It was as if there was 5 people saying it at the same time, all with different tones but perfectly synchronized. We heard another thud before another demonic and then a hand came out from inside the fireplace, a skinny, pale, wrinkled up hand which grabbed the side of the fireplace as if to get a better grip. You could clearly see that this thing wore Santa's glove, but the sleeve seems old and dirty. I saw something that looked like additional fingers coming out of its wrist, but they weren't moving like the ones on the hand. It all happened so fast, but as soon as the hand appeared, everybody started shooting. In a second or so, this creature impersonating Santa popped out for a split second, and I saw a shriveled, pale creature with a dirt gray beard and red eyes. I thought it was my imagination, but I was later able to confirm that this thing had dozens of limp hands just sticking out of various parts of its body, sometimes as full-grown arms. Anyway, in that split second, Santa grabbed one of our members in a big blood-stained bag and just like that, disappeared back into the fireplace. The commander gave us the order to cease fire, and so we did. We listened as our packed teammates screamed in horror while Santa dragged him through the chimney. Before he left, he gave us one final mocking leaving us in complete silence. We never saw our teammate again. Year after year, this thing has been coming back on Christmas Eve, and HQ has tried various methods to stop it. Automated turrets, traps, etc. One year they even put collapse on the floor to hold the unit members from being snatched away. The guy who got back that year, the only thing left of him were his feet, still clasped to the floor. Why don't we just leave it be, you may ask? Well, if we do, this thing will get out and bag someone else instead. Someone suggested once to leave some low-life scum from prison as tribute every Christmas to this creature, so they may start doing that starting next year, if they can pull the right strings. But one thing is for sure though, it always comes back, and each time it does, it has more hands coming out of its body. There was a place I was stationed for 2 months, which served as a warehouse of some sort. The warehouse itself was made from mannequins and simply consisted of one big room filled with hundreds of mannequins, which were no longer in use. I used to work alone there in shift, so the senior guard who was about to retire took me for a tour around the place. He gave me a flashlight and told me to follow him. Now going through a room full of mannequins at night is creepy enough as it is, but with the quirks that come with our company, it's even worse. The warehouse itself was so crammed with mannequins that there were makeshift aisles between them, specifically made so that the guard could take them as patrolling routes. Get your gun ready and keep the safety off, the senior guard told me. It immediately put me on edge, but he seemed pretty calm and he had been working there for the past 6 years, so I figured he knew what he was doing. This can be a nasty place if you're not careful, he said. One slip up and you're done for. Tell me, what do you see with your flashlight? I scanned the row of mannequins, checking each one of them out carefully. Some were missing heads, others were missing arms or hands, or were just dirty and overused. Other than that, they seemed like normal mannequins. body shape and the separation between joints, which make a mannequin distinct to work on, and I was instead looking at a realistic human woman in old, tattered clothes. As soon as the black light reached her face, she shielded her eyes and then started screaming like Banshee, showing off rows of sharp teeth. I pointed my gun at the thing, but before I could fire, the senior guard already put a bullet between the woman's eyes. Instantly, her head fell off and I was once again looking at a motionless mannequin. She was still in her screaming position, with arms and legs spread, but her head was gone, as it rolled somewhere in the background. Like I said, nasty place, he said. Always use your backlight and check every one of them. They are really sneaky. See that one there? He pointed his flashlight towards one male mannequin among the crowd, which was in the company's security uniform and missing an arm. That was George, the guy who worked here before me, he said. What? I asked. Apparently he got a little drunk before the shift, and when I arrived he was like this, on the floor, all mannequinized, missing an arm. There were a few other mannequins around him, in position that suggested he was ambushed and killed by them. We're strictly forbidden from touching or moving any of them, so there's no way he managed to put them in there, such an elaborate position, especially given the fact that he was so wasted. Anything else I should know? I asked. Yeah, if you hear footsteps somewhere, it means you have missed one of them and now it's trying to ambush you. It's really important that you retrace your steps if that happens and find where it's hiding. It's never going to move in plain sight unless you point the black light. You may hear footsteps, and as soon as you turn around, everything will be still and quiet. You look at the mannequins, sure that you saw them in different position and posture a minute ago, or they will seem closer to you, but you won't be able to put your finger on it. In that case, it's better than sorry. Go ahead, check them all out once more and shoot the one that looks human. Just one bullet in the torso or head, your choice. They're pretty fragile. We had to shoot 3 more mannequins by the end of the sweep, and once we're done, he said. Oh, they sometimes beg you to spare them, pretend they don't know how they got there and so on. If they do that, it means they're trying to distract you and another one may be sneaking up on you. In that case, it's best to shoot the bleeding fucker and run to the nearest corner. From there, slowly scan the area once more. Again, one slip up and you're done for. But luckily, you only need to do 1 sweep per night. Are there always mannequins to shoot? He nodded. The best I got so far was 2 in a night. The worst. The best I got so far was 2 in a night. The worst. Can count. One guy from the company works in a zoo of some sort, but as far as I'm aware, it isn't a zoo which is open to the public. His primary job is to feed the animal once a night and make sure all cages and enclosures were secure along the way. Here's the thing, he never saw the animals there because the cages were covered on all sides, making it impossible to peer inside. The guard would carry a bucket full of meat, some of it rotten, and he carried around a piece of paper which said which meat goes into which cage. For one cage, however, he had to take a live, sedated pig and lead it to a slide, which dropped directly into the cage. He described that just seconds after the pig was delivered, he'd heard a deep growl and the pig screaming in agony. Loud sounds of crunching bones and rapid flesh chewing came from inside the cage for a few minutes after that. The pig would stop screaming within the first minute. The second strict rule he has to follow is to patrol the area 3 times during the night and make sure all locks are secured tightly. The second strict rule he has to follow is to patrol the area 3 times during the night and make sure all locks are secured tightly, calling the repairman for replacement if they so much as had their paint scratched. If he was to see any external damage on the cages like broken bars, busted walls, etc., shift, because he'd often hear growling, thrashing, and bangings on the bars, etc. Despite not being able to see him, he was sure the animals knew exactly where he was at all times, because he could hear them following him alongside the cage when he patrolled. He also said he'd often have armored units arrive in APC, arms to the teeth, escorting something out in a cage, so secure the C4 couldn't get through it. They placed the animal in its enclosure and leave the place without a word, asking him what exactly was being guarded there, and he shrugged, saying, "Well, I can tell you one thing for sure, whatever it is, it's no fucking cougar." A guard by the name of Michael used to work in an abandoned hotel. There were 3 other guards on the shift with him, each guard covering one floor. They had radios to keep each other company, and generally nothing ever happened in the hotel. Michael told me about the night when he decided to quit the job in the middle of his shift. It was around 2 a.m. in the morning, and he was patrolling around the 2nd floor, checking each room. The rule was that if they found anyone or anything in any of the rooms, or even heard on any noise, they were to go back to the reception and call the intervention unit. So anyway, Michael went about his patrol normally, when he suddenly heard a noise coming from the bathroom in room 204. He radioed it into his coworker, but no one responded. He tried multiple times, but it was as if the line was dead. Not wanting to go all the way back to the reception and being curious about the noise, he slowly approached and opened the bathroom. He saw one of the guards there standing in front of the mirror, guard Sean from floor 3 to be precise. Michael asked him if he was okay, but Sean just stood there, staring at the mirror, and what Michael described as twitching his shoulder and head from time to time. When Michael grabbed him by the shoulder, Sean turned around and made his coworker scream in horror. Apparently Sean's face was completely distorted, as if his skin was stretched to the side of his face. Michael said it looked like Sean was wearing a leather mask, which he failed to put on his face properly, and he was just sitting there sideways. Sean staggered towards Michael with an outreached arm, muttering something incoherent in a muffled tone. Since his mouth was practically where his cheek was, revealing the side of his teeth, Michael ran out of there, slamming the door to 204 shut, and tumbling down the stairs to the reception. When he got there, he tried radioing his coworker again, but got only a muffled groan as a response over the radio. He panicked and picked up the phone to call intervention when the door suddenly burst open. 2 of his coworkers were just there laughing their asses off. Michael asked him what was so funny, and they said it was all just a prank to scare him. He put the phone down and breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't get angry and even commended them on a job well done, putting such a realistic mask on Sean. This is when his 2 coworkers gave each other a weird glance. When Michael asked them what was wrong, one of them simply said, "Sean wasn't in on the prank." It was then that they realized that Sean was unresponsive on the radio. Michael described being in sort of a trance from that moment. He doesn't clearly remember it, but his coworker tried radioing Sean, and when he didn't respond, they called intervention unit. The unit went to investigate, and after hearing gunshots from the 2nd floor, Michael simply left the company belongings on the counter of the reception and left through the front door, never to come back again. The end. Oh my god.